Today, we will be exploring one of the hottest topics in biological research, stem cells. For the past 2 decades, stem cells have been hailed as the new wonder drug, with the potential to treat a number of diseases from diabetes to macular degeneration.
When people go to the doctor, they expect their doctors to have their best interests at heart. After all, these doctors have the training and certification to help their patients medically, right? As it turns out, not all of them do. Doctors at fraudulent or uncertified stem cells clinics have been taking advantage of the excitement over stem cell research to tout unproven, unscientific stem cell procedures for their own gain. Unsuspecting patients hoping for treatments for everything from arthritis to diabetes have been turning to these clinics, spending thousands of dollars on treatments that are unproven and even potentially dangerous. Today we'll take an in-depth look at one of these clinics, the Pangenics Regenerative Center, located in Jacksonville, Florida.
According to an overview of stem cells by the National Academies of Science, stem cells are unique because they possess 2 unique characteristics. First, they are capable of replication, which means that they can make copies of themselves. Secondly, they are capable of differentiation into many different types of different body cells. For research, there are 2 types of stem cells that are often used. Firstly, there are embryonic stem cells that are derived from excess embryos from in vitro fertilization. Embryonic stem cells are pluripotent, which means that they can differentiate into a variety of multiple cell types, almost all of them. In contrast, adult stem cells are multipotent, meaning that they can only differentiate into a certain number of different cells, usually from where the cell originates. For instance, mesenchymal stem cells that are easily derived from a patient's fat can only differentiate into other types of fat, muscle, bone, or cartilage cells.
The Pangenics Regenerative Center, sponsored by the National Cell Surgical Network, is located at 3599 University Boulevard, Suite 604 in Jacksonville, Florida. Its website can be found at the link below. The Pangenics Regenerative Center advertises treatments using adult mesenchymal stem cells. In its background page, it mixes legitimate information with unproven science, giving it the appearance of legitimacy. For instance, while the webpage acknowledges stem cells' ability to self-renew and differentiate, it claims that mesenchymal stem cells have the ability to differentiate into new mesenchymal stem cells, such as those that make up cartilage, bone, ligaments, tendons, nerves, fat, muscle, blood vessels, and even certain internal organs. While some of these claims are true, mesenchymal stem cells can differentiate into cartilage, bone, ligaments, and fat. They cannot differentiate into nerves or internal organs.
Their mesenchymal stem cell treatment can be used for everything from orthopedic and sports injuries like ACL injuries or torn rotator cuffs, to enhanced plastic surgery like breast augmentation and facelifts, to back arthritis, urological conditions like erectile dysfunction, heart disease, Parkinson's disease, MS, ALS, stroke, and asthma. They claim that these treatments require very little recovery besides waiting for local anesthesia to wear off, and no data on the results or efficacy of these treatments is available on their website.
To get a better idea of the clinic's operations, we decided to give them a call. Due to Florida's privacy laws, we could not record the conversation, but we got some information that gives some additional details. First, we were told about different doctors that were working with the patients, which we follow up later in the video. When asking about the risks, we were told that they are minimal, even though they were not approved by the FDA. We went into the call with knowledge that they are not at all working with the FDA, but they mentioned statistics in a phase called research purposes, something that does not exist. They go on to explain that all costs are out of pocket, ranging wildly in large sums, and that they are unique in doing this kind of experiment. Using adipose-derived stem cells is standard among stem cell researchers and is the most common way to work with them. The call did not go on to add any additional credibility to the Stem Cell Center.
We decided to do some further investigation on the qualifications of the doctors staffing the clinic. 4 doctors are associated with the Regenerative Center. Firstly, Dr. Louis Obi, a leading stem cell plastic surgeon who published a textbook on stem cells and plastic surgery. When we looked him up on Certification Matters, he was certified in general surgery. However, in his comprehensive CV supplied by the Cell Surgical Network, Dr. Obi has no qualifications on training in stem cells at all. In fact, the words stem cells did not appear once. Secondly, according to the St. Vincent's Healthcare webpage, Dr. Heekin is certified by the American Board of Orthopedic Surgery and has experience examining total hip and knee replacements. However, no mention of a background in stem cells was mentioned on either webpage. Thirdly, Dr. Orlando Floret was the pain specialist. While he holds legitimate certification in anesthesiology from the American Board of Anesthesiology, according to his CV, he does not appear to possess any training or experience in stem cells. The final doctor, Dr. Kenneth Eddy Jr., is board certified in internal medicine. However, when we searched his name in Google Scholar and NCBI, the only published paper he has co-authored is entitled Comparison of Fingerprint and Iris Biometric Authentication for Control of Digital Structures, a topic completely unrelated to stem cells.
So these doctors are not qualified in the field of stem cell research and these treatments are not proven to work, then how do they continue to attract patients? According to patient treatment testimonials on their website, often patients who believe that their treatments have worked will advertise the treatment center via word of mouth. Often traditional treatment for these patients are unsuccessful or undesirable. One woman mentioned that she didn't even believe in surgery. With no control group and what appears to be a lack of quantifiable follow-up, these patients could easily be misattributing their perceived pain relief to true effectiveness when a placebo effect may be taking place, as seen by the following video testimonial taken from the Pangenics Regenerative Center's webpage.
I've had knee trouble for the last 4 or 5 years, torn meniscus and arthritis. And I've been to sports doctors, but they don't hold out too much hope except cortisone shots, which for me didn't work, and surgery. In the last 2.5 months, at first my knees were very stiff, but not painful, just stiff. But I think that I'm having they must be lubricating themselves because now I basically don't have any trouble with this stiffness. It's going away.
These marketing techniques are often misleading, if not blatantly untrue. Stem cells do have anti-inflammatory properties, as described by Paul Knopfler in Stem Cells: An Insider's Guide. In addition to a report by Pack et al. In the Journal of Biomedical Science indicates that stromovascular fraction, SFV, derived from mesenchymal stem cells may have potential for orthopedic therapeutic treatments in the future. These studies have not been standardized and thus the effectiveness is unclear. Furthermore, there is no evidence that the stem cells, particularly mesenchymal stem cells, will help other conditions that the Pangenics Regenerative Center claims to be able to heal, from multiple sclerosis to ALS.
Another factor in the proliferation of these treatments is the lack of FDA oversight. Because the treatment involves using macrophage cells, endothelial cells, red blood cells, and important growth factors. In order to treat the fat received from liposuction, the procedure would be considered a 351 under the FDA's Public Health Safety Act. In the context of stem cell therapies, a 351 would be defined as products that are highly processed or combined with non-tissue components, which would include growth factors according to a health report by Helm and Kessler in the New England Journal of Medicine. Thus, these treatments would be classified as a 351 and are subject to FDA approval. However, this clinic and many like it are often overlooked due to lack of sufficient regulations or regulatory bodies.
As can be seen with the Pangenics Regenerative Center, unproven stem cell clinics are taking advantage of the scientific hype and preying on unsuspecting patients under the guise of seemingly believable science. In the future, more regulation and stricter enforcement of the FDA's policies may be able to decrease the prevalence of these clinics. In the meantime, it is vital to examine these clinics and the doctors running them are being transparent about the validity, safety, and efficacy of their treatments.